Okay, good afternoon. My name is Gustavo. I am an undergraduate in electrical engineering at the University of Brasilia, and I developed this project as a student of scientific initiation under the orientation of Artemis Martis scheme, where we studied the electrical characteristics of the humid substance for possible use in humid sensing. The presentation consists of an introduction, motivation, sample preparation, characterization, results, and finally analogical. Well, I'd like to give you a view of what peat is. Peat is an accumulation of partially decayed matter. It's a kind of coal. It forms usually in marsh areas where the organic matter is inhibited from decaying fully by acid or anaerobic conditions. It's used as an important source of energy in certain parts of the world. By volume, there is about 4 trillion cubic meters of peat in the world, covering a total of 2% of peat, 2% of the global land mass. So there is a lot of peat available in the world. It's used for farmers and gardeners. It makes it into soil to improve its structure and acidity. And the principal characteristic of peat is retaining nutrients in the soil when it's dry, and yet preventing the water from killing the roots when it's wet. Why did we decide to work with peat as a humidity sensor? Well, we are studying the electrical characteristics of the humid substance, so I decided to measure the dielectric constant of it, and for that I placed the material between 2 plates of aluminium, and I applied C potential just to verify verify if the substance is insulator. But what I got was a constant flux of current. But in another day, I tried again, and what I got was again a constant flux of current, but much higher. Then I started to wonder what could make such a difference, and what occurred to me is that peat could be used for humidity sensing. There are 2 main types of humidity sensor based in change of some electrical characteristics. One of it is based on the capacitance. It corresponds to 75% of the sensors available in the world. In this kind of sensor, the material is placed between 2 conductors, not exactly in this geometry. And as it absorbs water from the air, it changes its permissivity, and consequently it changes its capacitance. The principal characteristic of this kind of sensor is that they are small. They have a narrow temperature drifting, but they have a high time of response. The second type of humidity sensor is based on the resistance, and according to absorb water from the air, it changes its conductance, and so by measuring the resistance, we can be able to measure the relative humidity of air. This sensor is small, cheap, but has a large temperature drift. The sensor we developed here is based on the change of the resistance. In this figure, we can see how peat was obtained by us. It was put in an oven during 4 hours to dry, and then it was finally ground in a ball mill until a thin powder is obtained. As it's a mixture of several organic and inorganic substances, we decided to extract the humid substance. And for that, we used a method described in a paper, which we used a extract solution of potassium hydroxide with 0.5 mol per liters. And the mixture of peat and the potassium hydroxide was stirred at room temperature during 4 hours. And then it was centrifugated at 10,000 RPM, and the liquid part was used to form the films. The liquid part consists basically of humic and fulvic acid, but the principal component is the humic acid. Its structure is given here as proposed by Schulten and Schnitzer. I don't know if I am pronouncing it right. This material is composed by not well-defined macromolecules with polymeric phenolic and heterocyclic structures containing carboxyl and nitrogen functionalities such as amines. To make the samples, we used a substrate of polyester. It's flexible, and the peat fixed so strongly in the surface of this material. we designed an area of 4 square centimeters, and in this area we put different volumes of the humic substance to assure different thickness. To measure the thickness, we used a system based in ultrasound, and the thickness was found to be in the range of 1 to 40 micrometers. To make the contacts, we used aluminum paper, as shown in this figure. We choose this geometry because of its simplicity and repeatability. The contacts are placed over the humic substance, and the current must flux from these regions, from one conductor to another. To measure the response of the sensor under several conditions of relative humidity, we use the two-temperature method. It consists of a flask, partially filled with water, and the sensor is placed right above the water. And there are 2 wires which connect us to the aluminum paper to provide us to measure the resistance of the sensor in the sternum. There are 2 thermometers. The thermometer 1 measures the temperature around the sample, and thermometer 2 measures the temperature of the water. To calculate the relative humidity of inside the flask, we use this equation, where this means the saturated water vapor at the given temperature, T2 and T1, multiplied by 100 in order to obtain the value in percent. To calculate the resistance of the sample, we applied 5 volts in the wires, and you use the current flux through the sample to calculate the resistance of it. In this graphic, it summarizes the results we obtained. It's described the resistance of the sensor according to the relative humidity. We can see that the conductance is higher at high humidity levels. It's due to the absorption of the water from the sample. It splits to produce ions because of the carboxyl groups in the humic acid, and it's increased the ionic conduction. We can also see that thick films show higher resistance than thin ones. To verify the sensibility of the sensor, we divided the curves in 2 regions, one at higher humidity levels and another at low humidity levels. And to calculate the sensibility, we used a linear regression of the curves in each region. The results is given in this table, where we can see that the sensibility is higher at low humidity level, and that thick films show lower sensibility than thin ones. The repeatability of the sample was found to be reasonable for all thickness. In this graphic, it showed the repeatability results for the sample with 25 micrometers of thickness. We can see that the curves agree at low temperature, but they differ a little at They agree at low humidity levels, but they differ a little at high humidity levels. All curves were obtained with a time interval of 1 hour from each other. Acknowledgement, I'd like to thanks to CNPq and Manufacturing from the financial support, and thank you all for the attention.
Thank you for this presentation.
Yes. I talked too fast.
No, very good. Very, very good. So we have time for some questions. If you have no questions? So fast. No? I have several questions because I'm interested in this. So the first question, if you can go back to the last. Yes. Yes. You mentioned repeatability. Did you make a cycle? I mean, you increase the humidity, you decrease?
No, I decreased the humidity from about 95% to about
50?
Yes.
50%.
And then I start again with 95.
But you didn't make a renew cycle?
No, not a cycle.
Because maybe you have some hysteresis. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
But
it's difficult to us to in the method we use to make the relative humidity get higher.
Okay. And the second question, you mentioned that you have to bias, of course. So you have some current. What is the power consumption in this case? You have an idea of the current, because you will measure the resistivity. So you have
the resistance.
Resistance.
Yes.
Resistance. So you have with voltage, you have a current.
Yes.
So what is the consumption in this case? The power. VI. Product.
The VI curve.
Yeah.
Ah, the VI, the power.
The power, yeah.
Yes, we didn't calculate it, but it's really small.
Very small. Because you have no heating associated.
We can here the resistance is about 10 to 100 ohms, kiloohms.
Kiloohms.
Yeah.
Okay,
By that we can.
Okay.
It's 5 square divided by a range from 10 to 100 kiloohms.
Good. Other questions? No? Oh, then thanks again, Gustavo.